can you see this person's perspective, but can you see beyond this barrier that is in front of you right now? And we do get to that place of gratitude and actually appreciation. Now, it takes us refusing to stay in a victim mindset in order to do that.
Welcome in, everybody. It is launch date time. Already got our folks on. We had an encore last week, and we are back.
We are. You're back.
I'm going to hug your whole face.
You're back.
Yes.
We haven't, I think this is the longest I've gone without talking to you in forever.
I know. And you leave the country, and that you that's one thing I talk, and what really sparked today's idea of recharging your batteries. There's something about international travel which forces you to recharge your battery because you're away from the local distractions and the local issues that plague us, where, if it's easy to get in touch with you and it's easy for you to get in touch with other people, you will.
Yes.
You will. And to have that thing, and I didn't realize how much I needed it. I haven't felt this good in, I can't even remember when I felt this good. So, because I really did the whole thing. So that's what we are talking about today. You wouldn't let your phone battery be on a low battery. So why let yourself run on one?
Right. It's so interesting because I literally just had this conversation. Of course, you and I had no idea what we were talking about today. And literally just had this conversation with a client this morning about when you have a need to take care of others or to make sure everything is taken care of all the time, even if it's in the most healthiest of ways, and your battery gets down from the green to the red into the yellow, and you only plug in and you don't charge yourself up and you don't take the time that you need to deal with the things you need to deal with, then inevitably, when you get back out into social circles, your battery is zapped, just like a phone battery. So you got to treat yourself with kindness and setting boundaries and being able to say, I need to charge all the way.
Yeah.
And not make excuses for it. Give yourself that trip to Ireland. I've heard so many sweet things about that trip. And I was able to follow along, I think, with Elizabeth, some of her posts and things, and a couple of yours, but what a fun time.
And people ask me what was the most wonderful thing, and it was the people who went. We literally, our little group, we forged this bond in this wonderful travel bond because they said they've never had so many singles on a trip before, this enrichment travel. And they said it became, and people that knew each other, people who didn't know each other, and they're just, this wonderful bond happened. And we let it happen. We loved on each other. They were all ages. We had a newlywed couple and a couple celebrating their 50th anniversary, so there were couples, there were mothers and daughters, there were brothers and sisters. It was a wonderful group of people. And I realized that sometimes the reason I come back from vacations exhausted is the people I have gone with.
Yeah.
And let's just talk about doing you. When you're recharging your battery, it's very important to do you. Got 9 people holding. I haven't said hello to any of them because I got to go on. Let's see. Candy is with us. Good day, Candy.
Hello.
Elizabeth. Yes.
Hello, Elizabeth.
Corinne is with us, and Angie. And let's see. Elizabeth says it was a beautiful week full of yumminess and definitely a recharging.
Nice.
And Rhonda says being away from technology is not necessarily bad. Amen. Not necessarily bad. Didn't realize how much I needed the time away last week. Grateful. And Debbie. Hey, Debbie, we haven't talked to you in a while. Loved following you on your trip. What a blessing. Debbie, it was a blessing. And honestly, you can recharge if you can just go to Bucksnort. A thick sliced bologna sandwich and a little time trout fishing. And it's just, what is your description, Teri, of recharging?
Well, when I recharge, I'm typically away from technology, social media. I can recharge with as much as a trip to go somewhere and to connect to nature, whatever that looks like. Or I can go sit out in the backyard and put my toes in the grass and recharge that way. Recharging, by definition for me, that I've made up in my head, the Terryism, is that it's allowing yourself mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally to decompress and then fill back up on the things that are the yummiest to you. And, sometimes when you do that, other things step in and sort of occupy your time.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to be able to juggle, especially when you're in a place where you are decompressing and you're trying to recharge. Anytime that you find yourself taking some downtime, I can assure you there'll be other things that will pop up and try to take that time, because we typically, as creatures of habit, stay busy, whether that's unhealthy busy or healthy busy. Busy is busy.
Filling up the squares on the calendar. That's what I've been guilty of it.
Mm-hmm.
I felt pressure to fill up the squares. Oh my gosh, I got to put things in the squares. And you don't have to put something in the square, or maybe put you in the square. Mm-hmm. Finding out if you were exhausted after a time of recharging, look at the people that you're with. Sometimes you need to learn boundaries.
Mm-hmm.
That's a big part of it. I was so blessed because I think I got recharged because I just enjoyed the people I was with so much.
Mm-hmm.
They were all nourishing people, and it all was a fill up kind of a situation. I found sometimes the best way to recharge our batteries is to unplug them.
Mm-hmm.
And that shows a beach scene. And Ride or Die, Mona, my bestie Mona, we were talking about this when I came back, and she said, "You guys look so busy. I don't know if that's my kind of trip." And it really hit me because she's more the beach type, toes in the beach, laying out in the beach and just letting the sound, and that's her deal.
Mm-hmm.
It's not mine. And we were talking about, we compared notes. So I think, first of all, examining what your way of decompressing is.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And being honest and finding your travel group that does what you want to do.
Absolutely. Because nothing will be more draining than to say yes to a trip that you don't want to take, or a vacation or a getaway that you don't really want to take, but you don't want to hurt somebody's feelings.
Right.
And then you can think of a billion other places you'd rather be than where you are. And then when you come back, you are mentally exhausted. That's the people that go and they come back and they say, "I need a vacation from my vacation."
Uh-huh.
Now, I'm not saying that, traveling internationally especially can be tedious and tiresome. So there's going to be some catching up with yourself,
Yeah.
But there's a big difference in the company that you keep on trips and how you feel and how that, how that traveling is. I've traveled with people before that every waking moment, what are we doing now? 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 I'm fixing to push your ass off the boat. Is what we're fixing to do right now. I can't do this. Like I don't, vacations aren't to be. Now, some people love micromanaging them out, right? But then other people just love being in the moment and having a loose schedule.
Yeah.
And then there's people like Mona that want to get to the beach, put that umbrella in, and do nothing but sit there. And that's beautiful too.
It is. And you have to find out a way to do you, boo. That's the thing. And being in the situation, even if you travel alone, I love traveling alone and I've always loved it. But it occurred to me on this trip, the reason I love so much traveling alone is I would rather travel alone than with most of the people I ever traveled with, because I would rest, I would write, I would do all the things. But after this, I think I don't want to do that anymore. I go, it was really nice to say, "Hey, did you see that?" And somebody echoes back, "Yes, I saw it. It was amazing." So Corinne says, "With or without a life preserver, Teri?"
Without. Without Corinne. Okay, really, real talk. I'd probably make sure they had one, but
yeah. Hi, Jamie. Hi,
yeah,
Jamie.
Jamie.
Elizabeth says part of the recharging for me last week was just being. I didn't have to be the boss, the homeowner, the anything but me.
Right.
Oh, right on it.
Right. And seeing that's, Devon, you just said, maybe you wouldn't want to travel alone again because you can travel in a group of people that enrich you and nourish you, but you can also travel alone within that circle because like at night when you need time to decompress, you can decompress, you can go grab a coffee or a tea on your own at some point. There's all kinds of ways that we can carve out little moments for ourselves and still enjoy the big picture of everyone.
Girl, we were like dandelions. We hit the ground running and, we went everywhere. And then we came back together to the bus. And so there was a lot of that now that you mention it. Elizabeth said it was a week of a lot of activity, but it was also relaxing and never, ever felt rushed.
Yeah.
My control freak side, I had to admit I have the problem. I control a lot in life. I'm a producer. I want to do things myself. My first sentence I ever said to my mother, it's in my baby book. I want to do it myself. She said, you just didn't talk. You didn't talk. You didn't talk. And all of a sudden you looked up and the first thing you said was, I want to do it myself. Okay. Case in point, that's who I am. And I was in the middle of planning the next trip with Brenda Willis, who is the most amazing tour guide and everything. And we were talking and she just touched my hand and she said, we've got this. And I realized the reason that I was recharging is I didn't have to be in charge. I didn't have to control. I didn't have to. And that's the part of recharging is find your level where you can let down the fact that you have to do things your way. Let life come to you as the blessing, not as the obligatory activity.
Right. And sometimes what you find out is that when it comes to you the way that it's divinely intended to, not a fan of the word better, but it's so much more enriching and nourishing than it would have been if we had done it our way.
Oh, case in point. We were sitting at breakfast, ready to leave at 3:00, and we got a notice that the flights were canceled.
What? Going out or coming
home?
Okay.
Home, and all these things crossed my head, oh my gosh, money, lodging, the dogs. I mean, everything just started, the fast thoughts of everything. And then I started to pray. I said, God, I know that you got this. I know that you've got this. I know that you've got this. And I will be dadgum if it didn't work out just fine. We all got these extra blessings that we did not plan. We did not know were happening. I mean, we were seated on aisles with no one in between us. We all flew coach, but we had this wonderful open area that we didn't have. And I thought, wow, this is really great. I thought, look for the blessing. And that's the thing I've decided. I came back with an idea of whatever it is, good, bad, or indifferent, look for the blessing and you will find one. If that's what you're looking for, that's what you will find.
You have to plant the seed. I had this conversation with a client earlier in the week and the conversation came up with, well, I can't really look at what tomorrow is supposed to look like because I'm too busy trying to figure out today. And I said, well, would you have that same mindset if you were a gardener? Like if you were a farmer, would you feel that way? And they were like, well, yeah. And I was like, okay, so what would you do with all the seeds that you had? Well, I don't know. I mean, I'd have to figure out I was like, okay, but if you don't ever plant the seeds, then you never get the harvest. So if you don't plant the seeds, looking at the things like you're talking about, like, being able to put the idea out that, yes, I want to go again next year, but also step back and appreciate where you are right now this year. Letting go of got to be on this flight at this time and planting the seeds that it's all going to be okay. And then what happens is that harvest comes around and it's all okay. I mean, is there some headache and some hiccup along the way? Yes. And that can cause great stress, and it can cause us not to be in the present moment and not to be seeing all the things around us that are really worth taking in.
Right.
Because the brain isn't looking for that. The brain is looking for the problem.
It's so interesting, the different ways that we recharge our batteries too. And some it's a trip, some it's taking time off work. Sometimes it's going to a garden. Sometimes it's going to sit beside a lake and camping out in a tent where there's no electricity, and you just go literally, that's really unplugging, and Debbie, I like this. Debbie says, taking the time to just breathe and have no plans or obligations for a little while. Positive people always make a difference too. Love that. There's Leslie. She went with us. Hi, Devon and Teri. Corinne says, I think I could decompress in those lovely castle rooms.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But it really doesn't matter where. I mean, the first thing I did when I came home is I literally ran out. It was 1:00 in the morning by the time I got back to my place, and I ran out in the pasture and whistled, and here came the horses, and I had to kiss their whole faces. And it was just like, it was part of coming home.
Of course.
That I loved it. The dogs were still out, and then my kitty cat, little Valentine, was just, I know that you saw my TikTok. And
I did.
I had it with music, and then I said, I just want one that's just her, just making her little sounds, and she was like, all the night. That's so refreshing too.
It also is a nice, gentle reminder that sometimes our little critters that are in our lives, every day in and day out, we love them, they love us, but it's nice to see that appreciation when you come back too. And it's like, you really know you were missed, and you also recognize that you missed them.
Yeah.
Now, my daughter's cat, Margot, I'm not so sure she would be on that bandwagon, because Margot is a cat's cat. Like, she is like, just feed me. So, as long as she's got someone doing that, she might or might not miss you. But, she's, I mean, our little fur babies, all kinds,
Yeah. You just never know. Apparently Rhonda and Elizabeth are with me that do it myself is their phrases too. Paul. Hey, Paul, how are you? Checking in from Virginia. I go to Walt Disney World fairly often because I am a geek interested in the Imagineering, and I often play the tour guide for others, and I enjoy sharing that knowledge. But sometimes I love time alone where they're exploring on my own.
Absolutely. And good for you for recognizing that you love being the tour guide, but then also sometimes you love being the tourist.
I love it. And being able to set that boundary is really, really good. Perry joins us from Rugby, North Dakota, 46 degrees right now. Oh, Lord.
You can have
it. Okay. Rhonda says, if we were in control of everything, we wouldn't mess it up. That's why God doesn't give it to us all at once. Well, that's true. That's true. This is really neat. We talked about Teri reframing. Every time something would come up and it was a negative from somebody, we'd go, now Teri would say, so you actually went on this trip. You may not have been there physically, but you definitely went. The flight changes allowed my brother and I to spend some lovely time with that extra day in Ireland. I am grateful for that.
Absolutely. And I saw Elizabeth's post that said one more day in Ireland, and I thought to myself, I don't think it said that. It said something that made me think, oh, she must be staying over, because she said some of the other folks had already gone. And I thought, oh, well, maybe they're staying an extra day. That's fun. I had no idea that your flights got, delayed, but look at the beautiful opportunities that came from that. I mean, that's big.
I love that. And here's something, a different way to look. Swimming is great for me. Movement and breath, no phone, no distractions, daily recharge. That's Candy from across the pond.
Yeah, absolutely. And that decompressing and unplugging is huge. It's huge. And we don't recognize how important it is until you do it. The first few minutes of it, people don't usually like it because it's kind of like meditating. Well, I should be doing something different. I mean, I should wonder what's going on. But the minute you just sort of sink into it, it's like, oh, this is nice. And then you decide, or you recognize, you don't necessarily decide, you recognize that your body, mind, and spirit actually would like a little more of that more consistently.
Yeah. Amen. Amen. Elizabeth says, my hometown recharging is done in the Smoky Mountains. I rarely take people with me. There are folks from our trip I could spend time in the mountains with. It's like, yeah. But having your time, your places and whatever, I have a little she shed that's away from the house that I sneak out to, that it doesn't even have animals in it. It's my little spot in the pasture. And I love that part. Here's Bill.
Hey, Bill.
We love our Bill. I think we know right away that someone is draining us. We often deny it and hope for the best. However, the best doesn't always appear. Amen.
Right. Well, and a lot of times because we have been conditioned from early ages that you just accept it. You just be nice. And so a lot of times you can be around someone and they can be draining you and you don't necessarily want to be around them, but you also don't want to step away because then you're not being nice. But you have to qualify that and you have to ask yourself, are you being nice to yourself? People sometimes will say, well, you can't always put yourself first. It's not from an ego place. If you're putting yourself first from a self-care place, you're not wrestling with ego. If you're putting yourself in first place from a self-care, from a spiritual, from an emotional well-being place, ego doesn't have anything to do with that. So right. Bill, I agree 100% with Bill. You can be in that situation, be hoping for the best, and then sitting there recognizing that it's not coming. And then either you wait it out or you get up and exit,
Yeah. And knowing when to exit, and knowing when you have to gently cut ties with people, and how to do that. I've got an issue that's come up in my life recently that I know that the chapter is finished. And I'm going to have to let that go. And I'm really praying about how that letting go is supposed to happen. Mm-hmm. Just letting go and go, I bless you. I release you, that kind of thing. And, it's not always an easy thing to do, but it's a nourishing thing to do. And sometimes we just have to do that. I refer to it. And this is one of those write it down things that I'm saying. There are people in your life that are whole books. There are people in your life that are chapters. There are people in your lives that are a paragraph. And then some are just a sentence. And you have to know what the people are in your life. It's not a good or bad. It's not a judgment call. It's okay. Turn the page. Some will go with you to the next page and some will not. And that's all right. Take the blessing they are in your life for that moment and let that be a blessing. Let it be a lesson. You've taught me about reframing, because we can go and we can look backwards with our goggles, and our backward goggles will show people off as, well, that was horrible. And blah, 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 or you can say, boy, did I learn a lot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And that's a gift in and of itself. Depending on how you want to look at something, it's a gift in and of itself. Mm-hmm.
Michelle, she went with us too. That's the queen. I definitely was more energized after our trip. It's amazing. Nice. We all work really hard. We work hard every day and we have a lot on us. And, and I think part of my thing was I didn't have to control it. I didn't have to plan it. I didn't have because I take on, and a lot of people I know in this lineup of people, They will take it on themselves to whether someone else is enjoying themselves. I plan this, therefore I must make sure everyone is enjoying themselves. And if they're not, it's my fault. Reframe that for us, Teri.
That's a big thing,
Yeah.
That's a big thing because first off, if you plan it, that's a gift in and of itself. What people choose to do with that gift is completely up to them. So you planning a trip and having people sign up and them knowing ahead of time, here's the itinerary, here's what we're doing. They get to decide every day what they're going to do on that brand new baby day. Every day they get to decide how they're going to soak up this wonderful opportunity and experience. And you get to decide how you allow yourself the gift of sitting back and watching people soak up their day, rather than trying to control how they need to be doing it in order to get the best out of it. Because like we said earlier, the best for somebody, some people, the best is I'm going to go relax and I'm going to run the Boston Marathon. Other people are, I'm going to go to the beach and feed the seagulls. And other people are, I'm going to pull the blackout curtains and I'm going to Netflix and eat popcorn. All of those are recharging.
Mm-hmm.
And if we're a beach person, we don't want nothing to do with the marathon,
Mm-hmm.
So, and vice versa. So it's finding out what works for us. And then also understanding that the gift that, you are the gift in that scenario, Devon, because and multiple gifts in this way, you came up with it, you planned the trip. Now that was a gift. Yes, people had to pay for their way, but that's part of life. Then you were gifted because people showed up, and I've seen nothing but comment after comment after comment about how wonderful it was, how much they were energized. So, they're gifting you, you're gifting them. It's the cycle.
It is. It was a big love circle, and that's part of it for me. Suzanne says, "Amen." You plan it, and they take it and run with it. I love it. Perry says, "Writing energizes me now." I love that. Mm-hmm. Paul had something very cool to say. Flying also can be relaxing for people who have a lot of responsibility normally, because after I check my bags, there is really nothing I can do or be responsible for but to relax and do what they say until we arrive at the next airport. Paul, you and I are in the same boat. People say, I can't sleep on a plane. Man, the minute we start taking off, I am snoozing.
Yeah.
Because it's in somebody else's hands.
See, and the minute the plane takes off, I'm socializing. I want to meet every person on that plane. I want to know their life story. I love that. To me, it's like they're a captive audience. It's like, just tell me everything about yourself. Like, I love that. But I totally understand, that I went to Germany back before my daughter was born, and I did the same thing. I mean, it was wheels off the ground, and I was like, okay, I'm done. It was already a long day because it was early morning, but that's, I'm sure, relaxing.
It's the stuff. And
so we know if we ever fly anywhere to Devon, we've got to sit in different parts of the plane, because you'll be trying to sleep and I'll be going, hey, Devon, hey, Devon, hey, Devon, hey, Devon.
And I'll be this little frog right there.
Right. I'll be reading the book and going, oh my gosh, look at this, Devon. Hey, look.
Recharging your batteries is giving love to yourself and consequently to others. And we're going to bring things to a close. Teri, do you have an upcoming workshop?
We do. We have one. I say we do. There's one this Saturday.
Not this. Is that the? Yeah, there we go.
29th, yes. And it's from, as the thing says, from 10 to 12 Central Time at my office. And there's space for about 3 more if people would love to join us. It is the Hugging It Out workshop. And we're going to be talking about the emotional, the physiological, the spiritual, the mental, all of that benefits from hugging. We're going to be doing a lot of hugging. So if your cup is empty or half full, or you don't even know where your damn cup is, come on. I got spare cups. So we'll just give you a cup, and we'll make sure that when you guys leave, your cup is running over, because it's going to be a super fun I said to someone earlier, it's the come as you are, so if you're in your pajamas and your flip-flops, come on. We're just, it's like Planet Fitness. There's a no judgment zone, right? We just go and we enjoy company, and we enjoy, like our circle that we have together, and we just fill up, and it's so good. And I'm so looking forward to it.
Well, if you need to reach me, devanoday@gmail is how to do that. And don't forget, Bill Sinke has a new book out. It's on audio, and you can find it at billsinke.com. It's really cool. And it's about being a musician, but it's more than that. It's like common sense rules you can apply to life, and they're really good and they're really fun. I like the fact that he did the audio book because I don't always have time to read, but I always have time to listen.
I love audiobooks. And I think since Bill is listening today, we should invite him to talk about his book on the show. That would be fantastic.
I think next week we'll see if Bill will come on and talk about his book.
If you're available, Bill, we're just saying, we'd love to see your beautiful face again.
Yes, we love him. We love him very much. And you guys, we love you each and every week. Teri, I'm going to turn it over to you to take it home because that's how lack of control I need.
There you go. You have gifted everyone with that. And now I will gift back by just saying, until we see you all next week, it goes without saying, we appreciate your time and your energy, and you're choosing to spend your time with us and sharing with us. And I'm glad everyone is home safe from Ireland, and that everyone joined us today. And until we see you again, create an amazing day and increase the peace. See ya.
Bye-bye, everybody.